Midnight music. 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 Midnight music.
Of course, my audio was muted. Sorry, apologies about that. All 7 of you that are actually listening or watching this, actually. Hey, it is literally just me tonight. Will is unable to make it. I'll address this a little bit more when we actually go, when I actually go live. And Kay is Kay. So it is just me. I didn't want to burden any of you guys with trying to last minute emergency find a replacement co-host. I didn't want to do that again. Thank you, Mr. Frats. Thank you. I appreciate that. So it's just me this time. It is me, one man band, King Rickie, I guess we're gonna call it. I had a whole completely different title for this show when it was supposed to be the show that we were going to do last week, and I'll explain last week. I was all set to do a show, obviously without Will or Kay yet again. It's coming an unfortunate recurring theme, and I was going to bring on a recurring guest. Sir Charles was going to return to a show last week, and we were going to do a show, and we were going to chit chat and shoot the shit, maybe a preview of potential project that Charles and I have been working on in the background. But what ended up happening was that was the day before Comic-Con, which Charles was originally supposed to come with me to Comic-Con. Sir Charles was supposed to come with me to Comic-Con, travel up from Atlanta, where he resides now, and come with me to Comic-Con. And then he couldn't do that, so that was a couple months ago. He had to back out. He still needs to pay me back, though, for that ticket. What ended up happening was that I had a friend, my friend Sam, and Sam was supposed to come with me, and that had already been set in stone. Everything was all, going to work, and Sam was going to come with me to Comic-Con and spend last weekend, which I did spend last weekend at Comic-Con in New York City, with me. However, Sam's wife, who I was the officiant at their wedding, so his wife was pregnant and was due very, very soon. And so there's always a caveat that he might have to leave early or something like that. So what ended up happening was hours before the show, before the podcast, I got a phone call from Sam saying that he can no longer make Comic-Con because his child was about to be born, and they were sending his wife to the hospital. So that ended up happening. The child was born on Sunday night. Not Sunday night. My God, no, sorry. The child was born Thursday night. And so I ended up just, exploring Comic-Con by myself. So in that very, very short window of time, I was trying to resell that ticket or give it away to somebody who could benefit from a 4-day pass to New York Comic-Con. So it was such a scramble that I didn't want to be flustered and be in, kind of a panic or anything like that going into the show. So I scrapped the show myself last week. Just to give myself a little bit of peace of mind and work my way into going to Comic-Con. My first Comic-Con, actually. My first con, I guess, because I don't think Access counts as a con. So it was an interesting event. A lot of walking. I learned that the hard way. So I will learn to have better shoes, maybe. I don't even think better shoes could even help me. It was just a lot of walking because some of you guys know I work remotely. For the most part, and I do appreciate that you would have joined in at the last minute, Frets, but I didn't want to do that to you again, and I kind of was already set on this one man thing, and so as I was saying, as I work remotely, so when you work remote, I don't work in an office. I work from my lovely establishment back here, and because of that, movement is minimal. Especially if you're not going to the gym, but I am. So movement is minimal. Also, Frets, think about that. Write that down. Was it you, Frets? because we talked about a 205 live or ring shape kind of thingamabobber, which I'm down for. Very, very much down for it. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Do some Carmelo Hayes. Let's talk about it right now. Arch supporting quiz. Yeah, I know, Freds, but it was a lot. I got a lot. I got a lot of steps in. Hey, Smiley. How are you? Evening friends. Welcome back to the show, Smiley. It is very, very good to see you. And for you to be a part of this chat and all of this stuff. So Frets, it's going to be Frets and Smiley. You guys are going to be hopefully running the chat, getting other people in here, and walking me and helping me through this one-man show. No. So we're going to address some things, and Smiley, and I know you know one of the things I'm going to address. It's what we're going to start the show off with. So I'm happy you're here for that as well. But we're going to try to get through, essentially, I think the last time we actually did a show, I mean we, meaning myself and Wilkes, K has not been on the show in a significant amount of time. I believe the last time we did a show, we did the Jade Cargill signing. That was like 3 weeks ago. Please keep the chat posted on AEW. I'm hearing a lot of Sting talk for maybe positive or non-positive reasons, and I'll react to that in real time as we're going live, as when we're live on the show. So that does kind of pop up. Frets, do let me know. I do have some potential talking points to mention in that essence. So we're going to be covering a lot of bigger news, really non-specific stuff. I'm not really going to cover Fastlane, although Fastlane I thought was a above average pay-per-view. The presser with the presser with Jay, no, was it Jay? Yeah, it was Jay and Cody, was very, very interesting. They were definitely on something, or at least Jay was. So very, very, very interesting stuff there. But I thought Fastlane was a pretty interesting paper. Oh, hi, Taquan. How are you? I was wondering when you would pop up. Don't you have class around this time? Or did you get out of class early or something? So I'm wondering. Hey, Taquan. Yes, I am riding solo. As long as Slack doesn't come around. I forgot you know about the Slack hatred, Smiley. I totally forgot. Don't worry, Slack hasn't come around at all. I think Slack's busy just playing his Xbox. He has a Series X or S at the moment, and I know that because we're friends on Discord. I don't think I've ever interacted with Slack on Xbox, though, which is kind of a shame. Why is he my friend when I don't even interact with him? But then again, I have a bunch of other friends on Xbox and some on PlayStation that, like, you're just collecting friends because you know them, but you're never really going to do anything with them. And I probably should get out of that habit. Maybe. I don't know yet. But yeah, Taquan, I'm solo. I'm doing a one-man show. If anybody remembers, Freds, you might remember this. Smiley, I don't know if you will. Taquan, I know you haven't been around long enough for this, but I did do a one-man show before. I have done it. Spider-Man 2, whenever I get more money, after I spent so much money at New York Comic Con, and I recently bought another high-value electronic for my living room setup, so I'm slowly paying that off. Almost thought about doing the Google Pixel 8 Pro, but I stopped myself, for that. But as I was saying, long time ago, galaxy far away, and I'm not even saying that because I'm having Rogue One is on my TV screen at the moment. I did do a one-man show. I do not remember what I called it. I do remember that I think it was because I overslept or something like that, or something. There was some sort of snafu. Well, I don't even know. I don't know if Dave was part of a show at the time. You might be right. I couldn't even tell it. I had to look back in our SoundCloud archives, because we do have a SoundCloud. Follow that, by the way. I had to look back in our SoundCloud archives to really figure out when it was. But I think it was a snafu of, like, I might have overslept. It was not The Work. The Work was not a one-man show. Dave was a part of The Work, even though he says he was neutral. He was not. He was definitely part of that planning. I wish we called it a better thing, but I do like the fact that we called it The Work and kept it as The Work for this long. But the last time we did a one-man show, I believe it was because of a snafu that did occur, I think, on my behalf, and I just went and did the show and produced the show and everything. How much did I spend at Comic-Con? You really want me to try to figure this out? I can tell you, if you do not include the professional meet and greets, and the one signature I got, and just the stuff I actually bought during Comic-Con, which includes about 7 different books and or comics, not the free ones, a couple of art prints, 4 to be exact, and I also ended up paying for a selfie with the original Black Ranger because he was there. There were a lot of Power Rangers at Comic-Con, which is awesome for me because I've been a Power Ranger fan since the original, hence why I said the original Black Ranger, because he's the freaking man. How much did I end up spending? Let me see. I'm going to try to calculate right now. It's going to be close, very, very close to 200 to 300 outside of like food and drink, but I had to buy because I wasn't planning things out as best as I could have, and train tickets and shit too because I live out on the island. But it was close to 200 to 300 with the books and the art prints and other knickknacks and whatnot. I would compare it outside of lodging and whatnot. Oh, it'll be bad when I actually put it together. Outside of lodging and whatnot, it would have been more Smiley if I didn't have any self-control. I didn't go to Oregon. I went to New York. I traveled. I did not die of this dysentery. But I can do small Comic Cons, not the big ones like C2E. Yeah, they're the big Comic Con. I mean, this one of my first con was big. C2E2, I hear, is a very interesting time. But it's only because I have self-control. No, they got Will, Taquan. The Republicans got Will very clearly. I do have a deep cut for Will, a deep cut joke, because I don't think he's aware of it. And I'll tell you guys, because he's not here, and he's probably not even watching the show at the moment, because he's doing another job. But you know how I have a gag for Will. I have some sort of really gag for Will, like of his fact and whatnot. So the most recent fact, and Zaquan, I know you'll get this because I know you're pretty aware of things. My most recent gag that's still there, and it will be there until he returns, is that Will is a proud member of Project 2025. And if you want to know what Project 2025 is, look it up, and that'll be your spooky thing for Halloween. And things like that. But the Republicans will never get K, trust me. I can almost guarantee they will never get K. K is too elusive for them. It's okay. I mean, number one, it is very unfortunate what happened to you at C2E2. But as far as like the characters and stuff, at cons that big, I've noticed that you will find something or somebody that you know who's cosplaying. I didn't know much of the cosplays from like the anime world because anime is not really my jam at all. I know some of the bigger names and some of the bigger characters, but like the niche ones, not really many that I knew. But I did. You got Spenguli. I don't know who Spenguli is. But at cons, I just enjoy the cosplay and the creativity that people do, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. But as we backtrack, as we go from, Sideberg to Sideberg to Sideberg, which hopefully will not Sideberg too much on my one-man band show, was that when I did the last time I did the one-man show, I remember I got really creative with it. And I think I had background music the entire time, so you didn't have to completely listen to my voice, but I did like wrestling theme music the entire time in the background. And maybe I'll do it for this audio version this time around. We'll see how things go. Maybe I'll have some sort of humming in the background so you don't have to consistently listen to me, but we'll see. We will definitely see. for the audio version. We'll see how creative I get or how long I want to stay at, which won't be that long. And I'll let you guys choose whatever the hell we do on the post show, which won't be that long either, because as you can see, it's just a one-man show. And I will be editing this video and creating the audio version of this, and I need to sleep at some point so I can get up in the early crack of dawn before sunlight in the morning and, you know, do my workout and whatnot. Frets, what do you say? I'm going through SoundCloud records and can't nail down where the one-man show, but I found the WEA was when AEW was starting to be formed, and we said we're going to open up our own promotion called the WEA. It was called the WEA. The new KOTR was, I think, the first official one that I did for when we worked all of you guys and lost some friends in the process. Well, we lost Christina. Yeah, we lost Christina. It's what happened. Semi lost Nikki, not really, but we definitely lost Christina. Oh, Saul Guerrero's about to die in Rogue One right now. I'm looking at it at the moment. So sad. Saul Guerrero, is like one of my least favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. So this really didn't touch me when Saul died. But Smiley, you got to tell me you said Svengoolie? I hope I'm saying that right. I really, really do hope I'm saying that right. But Comic-Con in and of itself, it's very WrestleMania-like in the form of spending and the atmosphere, so it's very comparable. The fandom obviously crosses over. If you guys have ever watched anything called Subway Mania, those guys were around. I didn't run into, because you can't really miss them, but Rikishi was around. I know the Dudleys were around. Ted DiBiase and his money laundering ass was also around. Matt Hardy was there too, from a wrestling standpoint. There was a guy of the Subway Mania crew, shout out to the Subway Mania crew, who dressed up as a different version of Seth Rollins, like current Seth Rollins, every single day of Comic-Con. It was actually pretty gorgeous because the outfits, he looked like Seth, number one, shorter version of Seth, which is funny to say because Seth is actually kind of a short person. But he had some of the iconic Seth outfits that he wore down to a T, which is kudos to him, trust me. Svengoolie is a TV host. He does a show that shows old spooky movies. He's a legend out here. Oh, okay. Is he bigger than Chad the Bird? Because Chad the Bird is like my Chicago legend outside of Michael Jordan, obviously, and Barack Obama. But there's speed passes for Niagara Comic-Con. Are they like speed passes at like Disney World or Disneyland? So, you friends, before I go live, or before we actually start the show officially, tell me about these speed passes. What do these speed passes get you in an event like a con? Because I'm interested to know about this. This whole thing, like speeds. Like, I feel like speed passes and cons shouldn't go, but there was, I'll take that back. There was when I went to a couple of panels, and there was kind of like, well, for the main panels, there was like a DoorDash line where you can get in pretty quickly, blah, 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 blah. That was for the Archer panel I went to, which was cool. Archer panel was fun. The Kid Cudi panel I went to, much better. Front of the line access to booths and photos. Oh, 184 King's Court. Wow. Good job, Frets. 184 was King's Court. Jesus Christ. This is a very long time ago. That predates Gus going live. Episode 200. Early info. Oh, that's how they get you, the early info. Early entrance. Blah, 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 blah. But you still have to pay for these photos and whatnot. So, I mean, you can get front of line access to booths and photos and stuff, but like you still gotta pay for the photos individually. Am I right in that assumption? So I hope I am. That's what it would seem like to me, because you got to monetize these things. Cons are big spenders, big spenders. So I'm interested to see. You do have to pay for the photos. Okay. Okay, so you do kind of have to pay for the photos, which I figured. Is anybody good at when is Niagara Comic Con, friends? It's not like I'm gonna go, but I just want to know when is Niagara Comic Con, and I'm gonna probably listen to King's Court to probably give myself some inspiration after the show. Obviously, probably give myself some inspiration to how I want to kind of put together this show. Oh, early June 2024. So no one has any idea when this stuff's coming out yet. I'm assuming. I am assuming. Where was that gonna go? Oh, okay. I was like trying to figure out what the hell's my show description gonna be and shit. Make this editing easier when shit comes. When everything finishes. I know Dynamite's about to start, so I should probably switch to Dynamite and not switch to Star Wars. Although, as much as Rogue One is awesome, I probably should have Dynamite just in case. Just in case it's not. I'd rather be watching the New York Liberty, to be completely honest with you. Hopefully they can tie this up. Getting food for the main show. Well, hurry the hell up, Frats, because I am about to start this main show. And just so you guys are aware, since I am the one that is doing this live right now, Will is usually pretty much the, for all intents and purposes, an audio engineer. When we're doing the show live, he controls all of the music and, he has his little soundbar shit that he does in the background. None of that's going to be there. In the final product of this produced, edited live stream, obviously, all of that stuff is going to be there because I have all that stuff, but it's not going to be on the live version of the show. So it might sound rather silent. My intro is going to just be my voice on the live stream, but then again, on the actual, edited straight version of this show, you will hear all of that audio and stuff that you've come to know and love. And the audio version obviously is going to have all those things as well. So there's going to be like when I switch over, and we're going to do the countdown in just a moment. When I switch over and we do, but coming up on Kings of the Rings podcast, all that stuff. It's just going to be me. There's going to be some long pauses because I want to space it out so that I have enough time for all of the music and whatnot. So bear with me on that. But we are going to get to it right about now, actually. So, make sure I clear my throat, because you're going to hear this great voice the entire time. And hopefully this is something that you will get used to, because I've been working on some stuff in the background. But that is another topic for another time. Hint, 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 January 8th. Fade. Okay. All right. If you're ready to go and you're still with me, and hopefully you will be for this entire time. I don't know how long we're going to go, but we are going to get into some really, really interesting stuff. We're going to talk. We're going to talk some stuff. We're going to let me talk to you. We're going to talk about it in just a moment. So let's get a little countdown for you guys, and let's get this show on the road. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2. Coming up this week on Kings of the Rings podcast, it is a one-man show this week. King Rickie Rozay does his best impression of a one-man show, just like The Undertaker does sometimes from time to time, as he tries to encompass all of the biggest news in wrestling since our last show several weeks ago. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this sultry chocolate voice as it is King Rickie Rozay's show, a one-man band for episode number 356, exclusively on Wrestle Addict Radio, and it starts right now. You know, sometimes when you want to get something done, you just have to do it yourself. And that's what we are doing this week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 356, the one-man band, because I am just one man sitting in front of a computer screen and a webcam and a bunch of some of our best followers and listeners talking to you guys by myself. No Willie T. Will cannot make it. No K. Kayfabe, formerly known as the K Murphy, because K hasn't been around in a while, and I didn't want to burden any of you guys with trying to scramble and find somebody else. So it is just me. Something I haven't done in a very, very long time. This is the second one-man show since I've been on, because I did one called King's Court, episode 184. And if you subscribe to our SoundCloud, you can find that and listen to that show. But last time I did a one-man show. So hey, this is King Rickie Rozay, lead host of Kings of the Rings podcast, the only host this week, and general manager of Wrestle Addict Radio. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for returning. If you are a new listener or watcher, please like, share, subscribe, leave us some reviews, leave us some comments. It helps the algorithm out. It helps push this video and this audio out to different people and different platforms, and hopefully we can start to really grow this thing. The links to all of our other social media and including some of our great merchandise, like the merchandise I'm wearing my own shirt because it's literally just me this week, is in the description below. All of our hosts have merch. All of our we have several varying different merchandise options for KOTR and Wrestle Addict Radio and all the other great shows that are on the Wrestle Addict Radio network. So we've got a lot to talk about. I myself, Will and Kay, we have not done a show in a considerable amount of time due to some scheduling conflicts, and I had Comic-Con, Kay's been having work, Will has been very, very busy with his job as well, and there is a possibility, and I'll put that out there right now, there is a possibility that we might move the day of the live stream. It is a strong possibility. We don't know when we might move or if. It's probably a when at this point. However, the only thing that is holding back now is that we know where SmackDown is and we know where AEW is in the future. The only issue, and a big issue for me, is that Raw and NXT's television rights have not been solidified. We don't know what days Raw and NXT are going to be on, and as anybody knows us, we cover a lot of Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW primarily over anything else. And so the big thing for me is that once we know where everybody's falling in the days of everything, is when we will then make a decision on where we might move to. It could be Thursday. It could possibly be Thursday. Thursday live show. It could be Tuesday. Who knows? We have to figure out what is going to be the best option for everybody involved. And hopefully we're able to do that. Like I said, hopefully we're able to do that. If not, we're going to have to go to a plan B. And as Triple H once said, there is always a plan B. So we'll keep you posted when a decision has been made, and we will make the adjustments accordingly, and hopefully you'll be able to adjust with us. So before we get into the news that we've missed in the last couple of weeks, I do want to harp really quickly on this. So the last time we were doing a show, we had one of our old friends of the show that myself and Willie T had the pleasure of meeting in person. My God, like 5 years ago at this point in 2018 in New Orleans, and she goes by the name of Smiley. Okay, Smiley is a big fan of ours. She recently had started joining our live streams a couple weeks ago. Like I said, the last time we did a stream, where we highlighted the signing of Jake Cargill and all of that stuff. So I don't know the time frame of how everything panned out. Smiley is in the chat with us right now as we are streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at this very moment at KOTR_podcast and at Wrestletic Radio and stuff. But around the time of our last show or a day or so after, and I'll tell you right now, even though Smiley's here, she has given me permission to discuss this, and it's something that I wanted to discuss anyways, but I got permission from her to discuss in much more detail. Smiley had a younger brother named Keith Jr., and around the time of our final show, our last show, not final show, around the time of our last show, within maybe that evening, I don't know the time frame, or a day or so later, Keith Jr. took his own life. And it took me by surprise. The only reason I found is that Smiley has been very transparent on some of her personal social pages about what she's been going through, with the passing of her brother, Keith Jr., and how she's been handling it. And this would have been something that we would have discussed sooner. However, like I said, we had some scheduling issues and stuff, and so we wanted to address this particular issue. There's a couple of things that stood out because I've had personal conversations with Smiley about this, and in just looking at some of her social media, there's a couple of things that stuck out to me, especially as a mental health professional, and some things that you just kind of hear when you're in it a lot, is that the first thing that really struck me when I heard the news was that Smiley said herself she didn't know that he was that low. And I'm not going to tell you how he took his own life, because that is not something that I want to discuss here, but it sucked. He took his own life. And she didn't know that he had gotten that low. And I want to be very sensitive to this topic. And in talking with Smiley, she wanted me to mention his name and who he was and how much he was loved. Because another thing that stuck out to me when I've been talking to Smiley is that she didn't want her brother to become another statistic. And that means many things, especially for someone who, like myself, is an African American male living in America, and becoming a statistic or not becoming another statistic is something that is always in the forefront of my mind a lot of the time. And so to hear it from Smiley, and the desire for him not to become another statistic and to talk about these things, is something that I commend, and I thank you for giving me at least the opportunity to discuss this very hard thing that she's going through. Another thing that's stuck out to me from my conversations with Smiley was that she initially said, and she can confirm or deny, but she's in the chat, that she was going to be very quiet about this, but she knew that was the wrong thing to do, and not the wrong thing, but not the best thing to do for her, because she is another person who works in the mental health field, and she wants to be able to, by sharing his story, that maybe she could help someone else who is also struggling as well. And so that's what we're going to do. And I know we don't want to talk about Keith Jr. being another statistic, but there are some facts and figures that we need to be aware of in and I'm talking generally, I'm not going to give you a lot of numbers, but the only number I really give you is 1 in 5 people suffer from 1 in 5 people in America will suffer from some sort of mental illness. It's not going to be severe all the time, but 1 in 5 people in their life will suffer or go through a period of some sort of mental illness. That's one fact, and it's one fact. Another one is that when you're talking about people who have unalived themselves, when it comes to the gender binary, female-bodied people probably have more attempts, but male-bodied individuals have more what would be known as attempts that follow through and essentially get the job done, because the manners that male-bodied people use are usually more lethal in nature. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And again, I go back to what Smiley originally said, that she didn't know that he had gotten that low. And I know that in the African American field, in the African American culture, mental illness is not something, and this is also in a lot of ethnic cultures as well, mental illness is not something that's widely talked about. However, statistics have shown that, and this is something that I know because I went to a couple of trainings and some little symposiums and conferences about this, was that that is changing. There are more African American, especially African American males, that are seeking therapy, and seeking mental health services, and that is a trend that is ever increasing. And it's also a trend on the flip side. Even though there are a lot of African American males seeking therapy, there's not a lot of African American males in particular that are getting into the mental health field and becoming therapists or in some sort of mental health capacity, like myself. And that's a trend that I feel like needs to change, because, you always are going to relate to somebody that you feel represents you more so than you're going to relate to the generic therapist, which in America is usually a white female. However, sometimes maybe it's just not therapy, or sometimes you just need to talk to people. And I think this is a good reminder to reach out to people that you haven't heard from in a while and just say, hi, I've been thinking about you. What's going on with you? I want to see how you're doing. It stuck with me, the fact like I didn't think he was that low. Talk to people that you love and care about as frequently as you can. This becomes a bigger reality as you get older in life and your connections with people start to become sparse, because life comes at you. But the older you get, the more you become aware of your mortality. So whenever you can, there are people that you care about, there are people that you really, really love, or want to hear from, or maybe you haven't heard from in a while, maybe you guys had a falling out. Really think about, is it really worth it to hold that grudge? Is it really worth to not hear from them? Because you never know when it's going to be their last breath or last day on earth. So take the time out, tell the people that you care about, that you love them, and reach out. Smiley says in the chat here, my brother was 29 years old, a goofball, and 1/3 of our group, the black sheep of the family, made up of me, Keith, and my younger brother, Kyle. So that was Keith Jr. Rest in peace to him at the age of 29. I didn't want to end this segment without saying, number one, Smiley, again, thank you for allowing me to share this story and to not let your brother be a statistic. And hopefully anybody who sees this will be able to, it'll be able to be helpful for them. And obviously we love you, Smiley. We are always thinking about you. I know you've reached out to me on a couple of occasions and continue to do so. Or any one of us. I know Will and Kay, who I discussed with this prior, have sends their well wishes. I know they wish they could be there for this, but they did want to start the show with this if they were here as well. And I do also want to end with this. If you or anybody else, may be struggling, may be having a hard time, whether how big or how little it is. Recently, in the past couple of years, the national government opened up a we'll say suicide and crisis lifeline. It is called 988. You use it just like you would do 911. It's a 24/7 free and confidential mental health crisis line. You can call it, you can text it, you can chat online at 988lifeline.org. All the information is right here on the screen. And if you're listening to us, again, it is 988. You can call or text that if you feel like you're having a hard time and there is no one to talk to. Or you can go online at 988, the number's 988lifeline, one word, .org. I'm Mr. Fretz. I do not know if Canada has something like this. I'm not aware of it at all. But I would advise for you to look it up. I'm sure if they do, it is something that is readily available or should be readily available in your great state of Maple Leaf. So again, folks, if you or someone else you know is having a hard time mentally and feels like they might do something drastic, please give them this information or use this information yourself. 988 is a national crisis lifeline, 24/7 confidential support. Call or text it or go to 988lifeline.org. Again, thank you, Smiley, for allowing me to share this. And hopefully, with this information, we can pass this on to as many people as we can and start to, save some lives and help continue some lives before they get ended early and too soon. And Fretz is saying here, apparently something like that is launching for Canada on November 30th. So definitely awesome for you guys. Let me know that information when it does launch or any information that you can, because I would love to share that information as well with other people, because I do have a lot of Canadian friends, thanks to this podcast. So I know that could be beneficial to somebody up there. So again, thank you guys for your time, and let's get into wrestling. And we can't talk about wrestling without talking about Vincent Kennedy McMahon, but not in the way that you think. So, it has been reported and corroborated by Sports Illustrated and other dirt sheets, because I wasn't going to trust a Dave Meltzer report as well. But Ari Emanuel, the CEO of TKO Holdings, which now owns, because they bought WWE and also owns UFC, has confirmed that Vincent Kennedy McMahon is no longer in any way, shape, or form a part of the creative decisions in WWE. So, what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is you fucking marks cannot blame Vince McMahon for shit booking anymore forever and ever and ever. The quote that came out from Ari Emanuel is that he believes that people should do the jobs that they are assigned to do. Vince McMahon is assigned to be the executive chairman of the board to help foster and facilitate sales, which is the reason that Vince McMahon came back in the first place at WWE and got his power back so he can sell it to Ari Emanuel. Spoiler alert, folks, it was probably an inside job. Vince McMahon was not supposed to come back and take over creative, and now that Vince McMahon has somebody to answer to, that being Ari Emanuel, he's essentially kind of being put in his place, and he's saying, do your job. And we pay Triple H to be a part of creative. So for the first time in a very, very long time, we have 100% confirmation that Vince McMahon is no longer in charge of creative. There's going to be no more speculation, no more did Vince do this, did Vince do that, did Triple H do this, did Triple H do that. We do know that for the main roster, Raw and SmackDown, Triple H has full control over creative. And Shawn Michaels has full control over NXT. D-Generation X runs WWE. Let that sink in for a little bit. The degenerates, the bane outside of Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the banes of the Mr. McMahon character during the Attitude Era and beyond, now run his company creatively. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be very, how can I say? They're going to be very, 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 very excited about this. You know, they're going to be happy that Ding Dong the Vince is dead, and all of that. However, you got to think. I think of it from another perspective. This is a man who created sports entertainment, who essentially built this from the ground up, taking this from his father, of course, but also he has done everything in the company ever. Everything in the company ever. He has he was a ref, he was an announcer, he's been a booker, he's done everything you can think of. He taught Shane and Stephanie that way. He started them from the ground up. Vince McMahon has done everything that's coming. This has been his baby. So I can understand with somebody, especially at his age, who has been nurturing this thing for so long. That this is something that he would have a difficult time, a very, very difficult time being okay with. But, you know, that's kind of a risk that he had to take. He sold it. He got a crap ton of money for it, which is the reason he came back anyways, getting more money, even though he had a lot to begin with, but he needed more. And now he's being told, essentially, by Ari Emanuel to know your role and shut your mouth. And I think this is a good thing. You know, it was going to happen to Vince at some point. Either that or Vince was going to pass away. However, Vince has someone to answer to now, and it's now the Ari Emanuel show. And even deeper than that, it's now the Degeneration X show. It is pretty crazy to think about. So Vince McMahon only there to facilitate sales, and from what I've heard, TKO wants to purchase a part of the PGA Tour as well. That's another topic for a completely different podcast on another time. So let's move on from that. Other big thing that happened in wrestling, Edge debuted in AEW. AEW is now rated R. Edge showed up several weeks ago at Wrestle Dream to actually a very, very good video package to announce his debut. He kind of has the rights to the song by Alter Bridge. The only thing they changed was that the voice in Edge's AEW theme is Beth Phoenix. The You Think You Know Me is Beth Phoenix's wife, and it's not the original voice of the original song. That's the only tweak to his theme. The NWA signed a TV deal with the CW, which will be interesting. We'll talk about that when I get more details about it. Excuse me. So AEW is officially rated R. Well, AEW is rated R to begin with. And Edge talking about this. He came out on Twitter and did a long post about saying, like, you know, no hard feelings with WWE. They just came, or they grew apart from each other. And Edge still felt like he had more to do. And I'm okay with that. You know, he wants to do more. You can do more. But I'm always scared with Edge in particular, not more so with Daniel Bryan or even Paige, but Edge in particular about his help, because it was interesting to me because Edge always discussed that he didn't have much time left. Which I guess was he just didn't have much time left in WWE. But it made it seem like he didn't have much time left in his career. And so I'm wondering what more else do you have to prove, Edge? Like I don't know if Edge is as big as a get for AEW as we all think it is. I just don't. I think it could be good for them. I don't know if it will be, but we'll know. I know in the back, in a locker room perspective, it should be good because Edge has always had a good wrestling sense and a good wrestling mind, and Edge is always one of those people who always wants to help. But how much we're going to get out of Edge here in this third run, I guess. But again, I believe Edge is a SAG actor, and the actors are still on strike, so he's got to do something, right? But we'll see how this Edge thing goes. I mean, more power to him, but like, I guess the big pop or the surprise of Edge being there, or Adam Copeland, as we're calling him, or the rated R superstar Adam Copeland, or whatever he is calling himself, in AEW. I mean, this is great, but we already had the, oh my God, Edge is back from retirement moment when he came back at the Rumble the same night that Kobe died. So it is a change of scenery, Mr. Frats, and takes the CM Punk stink out of AEW and shifts the focus on something positive. Yeah, we'll see. We will definitely see. So Edge is back, and Edge's first match, or what have you, was going to be this past Tuesday, or not this past Tuesday, but about a week or so ago, when AEW was going to be on Tuesday because they were preempted by the Major League Baseball playoffs, and that's the same night, but NXT also runs, and so NXT decided to hold a WrestleMania-like show on 2 hours of public programming to kind of, from what I read, show AEW who's boss. And to put it in perspective, folks, NXT, WWE's third tier brand, granted, they beefed up that show like no one's business. Really had, they almost doubled the viewership in compared to AEW Dynamite. It kind of wasn't fair, to be honest with you. But when you are when you're WWE, you can do things like that. One of the big things that occurred on top of that super show with AEW, with NXT, sorry, not AEW, NXT. NXT had I'm not gonna lie, Smiley Eber, NXT had my full attention. I mean, I get Adam Copeland wrestling and Christian and all that, but NXT had my full attention. You had Cena, Cody, Paul Heyman, Taker, Shotzi came back, Asuka wrestled. Shotzi revealed that not only herself, Scarlett's fine ass, is going to be hosting Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc is a 2-week show. It is a 2-week special. Halloween Havoc night 1 is next Tuesday, October 24th, and then Halloween Havoc is going to be on Halloween, Tuesday, October 31st. Mind-blowing that they're doing. There was a lot of big reveals. The Dusty Classic is obviously coming back. That's the reason Cody was there. Cody was special guest booker. He booked some fantastic matches. But the big thing here, the really, really big thing here that we have was Lexus King. Brian Pillman Jr. in real life. But we had been seeing these vignettes of a guy watching TV and old TV footage, and including some Brian Pillman stuff. And then we saw the face. And if he is not a spitting image of his father, I don't know what he is. But he cut a promo that was mesmerizing, absolutely mesmerizing. Absolutely. I honestly, he reminds me of his father, but the Lexus King promos denouncing his father because his father never raised him and his father was dead and drugged up. It's a great way, and I thought it was a great way to separate him, to acknowledge his lineage, but separate him and show him that he's a different person. But as much as he is a different person, my goodness, he's just like his dad. Which isn't a bad thing, but hopefully he learned lessons from his father. I know the kid was 4 when Brian died, and it's hard for him to have some sort of memory, but still, I can't help but look at him and be like, you look, you sound, you kind of act just like your father. But I'm excited for it. He debuts next week on Halloween Havoc Night 1. Plus the AEW, plus the NXT had more matches than AEW has had in 3 years for the women. You got a point there. Or 3 months, sorry. So I am very excited for Lexis King. I'm very excited for NXT. NXT, outside of the WrestleMania Super Show that they put on, and that's what we're going to call it, they did a hell of a job. Lexis King on Broken Skull Sessions would be unreal. I don't know if anybody's ready for that, because I don't know if Austin's even ready for that itself. But outside, like I said, outside of the Super Show, the WrestleMania NXT Super Show that it was, it's also included an appearance from Jade Cargill, because Jade Cargill is just freaking everywhere. Who know who cut his half fake? My God, Smiley. NXT in general has just been really goddamn good programming and good wrestling. Shawn Michaels went on a conference call or a press call the other day and was talking about the thing that separates him is that we are really focused on storylines and why these people are fighting and not just having them fight. And you can that's kind of evident in NXT programming. In Shawn Michaels' NXT is he's really big on why are we fighting? What's the story behind why are they fighting? And making them really focus on that above anything else, which I think is a very, very good thing for the brand, and it makes it very interesting TV and good pro wrestling. On the flip side of the NXT Super Show and all the positive that stuff, we had this thing going on with the Bullet Club, Gold, and MJF, which it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around this. So we had, I want to say it's Juice, correct me if I'm wrong, Freds. So we have, I want to say it's Juice. Why do I keep on saying it's Juice wrong? But I believe it's Juice. Juice, I heard that from a lot of people too. So Juice Robinson cut a promo on MJF, and Juice, being part of the Bullet Club, has had this thing where he rolls up. He has like a roll of coins, and he puts the person's, name or whatever on the coins. It's like, we're going to get you next. And, there's an old homage thing, you put a roll of coins in your fist that makes you punch harder and all of that stuff. And this was targeted at MJF. And I saw a clip, and I don't know if this was part of the same episode of AEW or not, but MJF is Jewish. It's his power of the punch, thank you. MJF is Jewish. A Jewish kid from Long Island. And me being from Long Island myself, I know a lot of the very harmful Jewish jokes that can be made towards a person. And MJF, being a good promo person, especially when he's very emotional, recounts a story about wanting friends and being on a football team and thought he had some friends, and then making fun of him by throwing quarters on the floor and telling him to pick it up, Jew boy, in MJF's own words as part of the promo. And then you have Juice Robinson with this whole, roll of coins thing targeting MJF. And it's one thing to have this and be like, this is kind of weird and unsettling. But when you take it out and put it to the global perspective of all the conflict that is going on in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine in and of itself, which I will not comment on because, number one, I don't have any stake in the game. I don't know much about it. I am very new to the information that I've acquired about it, so I will keep my thoughts out of it. But I know it is a very passionate thing for somebody of a Jewish religion, or even someone of a Muslim religion, or who is Palestinian, and it's very divisive for a lot of people in the United States. And I don't know if this was a pre-planned storyline that they were going to do anyways, or if this was something that they said, let's kind of see what we can do with this, given the current climate that's going on. Maybe to create some heat. Wrestling in general has never shied away from using real world stuff to kind of create more heat for characters. Sergeant Slaughter becoming an Iraqi sympathizer, big one. Anything with Muhammad Hassan, all of that stuff. I mean, even in his beginnings, Mustafa Ali was supposed to be a foreign heel, and wrestling always likes to do the foreign heel but happens to be a brown person from the Middle East. Very famous trope. According to Mr. Prince, apparently it was planned and Max greenlit it, which I hope he would greenlit something like this. It just seems not really poor taste, because for some people I can understand why it's poor taste. For me, it's more so bad timing that a storyline like this would be the main storyline for your biggest title in AEW, your theoretical biggest title in AEW. It just seems like maybe they could have come back to the table and be like, maybe we should pump the brakes on this and maybe go another route, but they went with it, and, for better or worse, you're going to live by it, and you're going to die by it. I do know that for a lot of people, this was cringeworthy, and they started changing the channel to NXT, which is not something you want when you're going up against your competition. It sounds like, WCW did the same thing. I hope this goes over well. I hope they make something out of this, and there's something positive that comes from this. But it's off to a bad start. It's not looking well for a lot of these people involved. But we'll see. Also, in the fallout of this one Tuesday night showdown between AEW, the premier show, Dynamite, and the third tier show, NXT, from WWE, again, to give you some comparison, Tony Khan didn't have a major announcement, but what Tony Khan did was Tony Khan went to Twitter or someplace and he voiced how things between him and WWE became personal. It's a very big Deion Sanders word lately, personal. And he recounts the story about around a year ago this time is when his mother was in the Mayo Clinic and she was getting treatment for cancer, which apparently the treatment has been successful, and she still lives to this day, so congratulations to her for that. And Tony Khan said while he was in the hospital tending to his mother, getting all of these cancer treatments from the Mayo Clinic, and by the way, Mayo Clinic's absolutely freaking fantastic. Just even for information gathering in general, the Mayo Clinic is an awesome resource for anybody. But while Tony Khan is in the Mayo Clinic tending to his mother, he says that he received text messages, phone calls from current talent in AEW saying that WWE was allegedly tampering with his current talent's contracts, or attempted to tamper with his current talent's contracts. And I don't know how true that is. Tony Khan even says that it was alleged, which means that he doesn't even know. But he said it was at that point that it became personal between him and WWE. And I dove into this, and I wanted to talk about this, especially from my time in the mental health field, but I found it interesting. And this happens a lot of times when you have a personal, emotional thing that you are going through in your own personal life. Sometimes that seeps into other aspects of your life. What was happening to Tony Khan, and in particular Tony Khan's mother, is something from his personal family life that is separate from his business proceedings, especially with AEW. The fact that Tony Khan decided to answer the phone of his talent and not delegate that power to somebody else, as Tony Khan is really hands-on to a massive fault. But for Tony Khan to pick up that phone, take those calls, and potentially in potentially a not so great state of mind, knowing what his mother was going through, I see why he feels like it's personal between him and WWE, because I see that Tony Khan associates his mother's hospital time with WWE, again, allegedly tampering with the contracts of his current performers. And we don't know what alleged is. Could WWE been calling sometimes to be like, hey, what's your contract like? Is that tampering? I don't know. Were they trying to buy them out of their contract? Is that tampering? I don't know. We don't know what tampering is. Tony Khan wasn't really that descriptive of it. However, this was something that Tony Khan put on himself. Tony Khan made it personal. I don't think it's personal between WWE. It sounds like potentially WWE was just doing business like I think you've always done business. What other people would do would ask you what your contract's like. Doesn't mean they're trying to poach them. It also could be, and this is another possibility. It also could be Vitale was trying to get more money out of Tony, whoever Vitale was, and made up a lie. Negotiation tactic. WWE's telling me that they're going to give me this. What do you got for me? It's a very high possibility. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay what his mother went through. Not at all. What I'm saying is that, should it really be personal, Tony? Because I don't think it should. It sounds like it might have been just business that you made personal because you were doing business stuff in a time that you were dealing with a personal matter that was highly emotional and close to your heart. Just something to think about. This also furthers my idea, but I believe that Tony Khan needs to have other people we can delegate duties to, where he can actually take some time off and tend to things that are important to him, like maybe his mother or his family. I'm not telling Tony Khan what to do with his family, but I'm saying it should be a high suggestion from him that he doesn't need to take all of that on by himself. Tony Khan had a my team lost in the playoffs meltdown. He did have a my team lost in the playoffs meltdown. And it wasn't even just a loss. It was a beat down. It was an absolute beat down. But the fact that Tony Khan is making this personal between him and WWE is one-sided, and that does not bode well for AEW, and it does not bode well for Tony Khan, because Tony Khan will not be in the right state of mind to make good business decisions if he is taking everything personally, and that's where he will lose in the long run. No matter how much money he has, he will get destroyed if he starts to make this personal. Telling you, he's going to get absolutely destroyed if he starts to make this personal, and he doesn't have people around him to tell him to stop. So, fair warning, Tony. It's on you now. It is so much on you. What's not on him anymore is Jade Cargill, and this fascinates me. The Jade Cargill situation is one of the most unique things I have seen in pro wrestling, in a while. Ever since Jade Cargill's very public signing with WWE, the rumor has it that there's a trademark or a copyright that she's getting for her name, which makes me believe that they are keeping the name Jade Cargill, which, one, brilliant for everybody, including Jade Cargill, bad for AEW and Tony Khan. Imagine Bischoff and Vince tweeting in the 90s. Jesus Christ. But WWE has made sure everybody knows who Jade Cargill is, what she looks like. They're giving her a star treatment, almost as big as Cody. But Cody was already an established talent. Jade, for the most part, is established, but not that established. But they're making Jade feel like the biggest thing in wrestling, because she is showing up. Showed up on Fastlane, Raw, SmackDown, NXT twice. She ended NXT this week with a shot of her on the TV screen. She has run into the likes of Charlotte. She has run into the likes of Becky Lynch. Triple H has been taken around. Adam Pearce has been taken around. Shawn Michaels has been taken around. This has been an awesome hype around Jade Cargill, and she hasn't even wrestled a single match for WWE, but it feels like when she does, it is going to be massive. No one knows where she's going to go. There's been talks about Raw, maybe she's on SmackDown, maybe she's on NXT, but they are playing this up so well because she's showing up everywhere and no one knows where she's going to land. And it's absolutely brilliant what they are doing with Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill is a star. The only thing that she needs to do is that first match has to be dominant and as impressive as hell, and the longer they take, the better it's going to be. I can guarantee that. Jade Cargill said this pretty early after she was signed. She doesn't need this money. She is doing this because she loves to do it and she wants to be the best at doing it. And she also wants to be a positive influence for little African American girls and other African Americans to show them that they can make it to the top. Something that she was not able to break through with in AEW, but in WWE, the rocket ship is strapped to her like no one's business, like no one's ever seen before. This is unprecedented. But I'm enjoying every minute of this. She just has to deliver. It sounds so simple, but it's not. But I trust the WWE performance system, and pretty much has developed the entire main roster. Jade just has to listen to them and do what she needs to do, and she will be just fine. And I'm very excited for that debut whenever it is. It is going to blow everything out of the water. I cannot wait. Where do you guys think Jade Cargill is going to go? Please let me know. And leave a comment or something. Maybe I'll put up a poll on our Spotify or something like that. But let's figure out where Jade Cargill's finally going to land. Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. NXT at this point is probably going to be the least likely because of how prominent she's been seen everywhere else. But we'll see what happens. She might be on SmackDown with Nick Aldis though, because oh yeah, by the way, one of the more prominent NWA champions of the past decade or so, Nick Aldis, is now a signed member of WWE as an on-screen personality because he's the general manager of SmackDown. There is no more Adam Pearce being the general manager of Raw and SmackDown. Nick Aldis has signed with WWE, and he is the general manager of SmackDown in a fantastic segment. In comments about Jade Cargill, Smiley says, I'm hoping NXT, think she goes to the main roster, she doesn't live up to everyone's potential, then most fans will eat her alive. That is also very true. So it's going to be interesting where Jade might land. Because where she lands shows how much faith they have in her to be an instant impact. And that's what we'll say. But anyway, back to Nick Aldis. Holy crap, Nick Aldis is in WWE. I'm surprised he's an on-screen personality. I really am. He fits the role well. He looks like $1 million. He's always carried himself like $1 million, especially with that NWA title. The fact that Nick Aldis, a former NWA champion, is now running SmackDown, and like Fred said earlier, Adam Pearce, another former NWA champion, is running Raw. So you have DX running creative, NWA running Raw and SmackDown. It is wild times to be an absolute pro wrestling fan. Nick Aldis is a big deal, and a lot of people, myself included, thought he was going to be signed, and he was going to be signed as a performer, but as an on-screen personality, it was very interesting. And even more interesting when Nick Aldis said that we finally got a trade for Jey Uso as facilitated by Cody Rhodes, and that trade was Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is now a member, and Nick Aldis' first move is now a member of SmackDown, breaking up Sammy and Kevin Owens and that bromance, and now Sammy can just work on his bromance with Jey Uso, potentially. This is a huge get for SmackDown. At this point, SmackDown might be the ace show. I mean, SmackDown has been the ace show back and forth for a while, but SmackDown might be the ace show. You got Roman, you've got Kevin Owens, Nick Aldis, potentially Jade, Charlotte's on the brand. This LA Knight is on SmackDown. This is huge for SmackDown. And SmackDown's leaving network television by next year. It is absolutely insane. Fretz here is saying maybe he'll be a player coach kind of GM like Regal in 2000. I feel like all of this sets up potentially Nick Aldis versus Kevin Owens down the road. We'll see how they play this and how Nick Aldis plays this and all of that stuff. There is that potential as well. And speaking of Regal, don't be surprised if Regal returns as the GM of NXT. I'm calling that now. It's not a spoiler alert. This is merely just a prediction because if I remember correctly, Regal left AEW about a year ago, and the stipulations of his release was he could not be an on-screen talent for the first, or an on-screen personality for the first year after his release. And that year's coming to an end. There is a possibility, a very, very strong possibility that WWE will have a more controlled version of a brand split and brand separation with 3 GMs, and I think the 3 GMs are going to be Nick Aldis on SmackDown, Adam Pearce on Raw, and a returning William Regal on NXT by the end of the year. I think that is going to happen sooner rather than later, and by Lord help everybody else that is a wrestling promotion if WWE can figure that out, because it is going to be mind-blowing times. I'm excited to see what Nick Aldis does with Kevin Owens now in the brand. SmackDown is going to be pretty big this week. That was the season premiere of SmackDown. Also on the season premiere of SmackDown, you had the face-off everybody wanted, LA Knight, Roman Reigns. We've been talking about wanting to give LA Knight the reigns to go for a title. We thought he was going to get the U.S. title. He didn't get the United States Championship. And it looks like big things are coming for LA Knight, and that big thing looks like at this point he's going up against Roman Reigns, potentially at Crown Jewel, with the backing of John Cena not using his golden shovel, but actually elevating somebody in some way, shape, or form, until, acting calls again, and then John Cena disappears. But as good as for this is LA Knight, let's bring everybody down to earth. LA Knight is just another sacrificial lamb on the Roman Reigns domination train as the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion. Roman Reigns is going to beat LA Knight. That's not a prediction. That is a definite spoiler alert. The big question is, can LA Knight look good in a defeat? If everybody thinks that LA Knight is going to be the one to take out Roman Reigns' 3+ long year championship reign, you have something coming that's definitely not happening at Crown Jewel, where I think this match is going to happen. LA Knight is losing to Roman Reigns. How good the build and how good the match is going to be up to LA Knight and Roman Reigns, and how good is LA Knight going to look in a loss. This is a big moment for LA Knight. You wanted LA Knight as the megastar. Now you've got him, and now he is in a program with the biggest star in all of pro wrestling for the past 3 years, Roman Reigns. Let's see what you got. Prove it. Step up or step out, LA Knight. I'm looking forward to this in a big, big way. So we'll see what happens. And I said LA Knight's losing to Roman Reigns, because if you forgot, this also happened on SmackDown, because Cody was there, because he was a undisputed tag team champion for about a week. And I believe they lost those titles on Monday, the Judgment Day, because they were drunk at a press conference. But also this happened on SmackDown. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns had a little bit of a face-off, a little bit of a teaser, and Nick Aldis was in the middle of them. Cody and Roman is happening again, whether you like it or not. And it's happening in Philly. I've talked about my theories for this for a while, but Cody and Roman Part 2 is happening again. and I believe it will main event WrestleMania 40 Night 2 in Philly. That photo, the photo you're seeing right there, wherever the thing is where I'm pointing to. Don't you start yeeting me. You two better not start yeeting me. Uso versus Uso and Phil. Uso versus Uso might happen at Survivor Series. This is too good to not do again. I think it's too good to not do again. Cody and Roman. WWE has done well enough to keep Cody hot, and Roman's forever hot at this point. It's too good not to pass up. WrestleMania 40 is going to be a massive undertaking. It's going to be one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time. Potentially one of the WrestleMania 40 has the potential to be a top 10 WrestleMania of all time. And I'm going to be in the stands for it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Oh my God, I'm sitting club level. Oh man. But yeah, if anybody wanted to see who's probably going to take that Roman, it's Cody. It is absolutely going to be Cody. It's too good. There's no one else built up big enough to take out Roman than Cody. I know we've said that for a while. And LA Knight might be the closest, but LA Knight's not Cody. There's a different level that Cody's on. I could say he might be great. He might have greatness on a different level. That, you know, another empire named Roman usually says. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's move along to, speaking of Crown Jewel. Crown Jewel's happening. You know, in Riyadh again, because it's Riyadh season. Crown Jewel is happening again, and I think it's the early November. It's right before Survivor Series, so it's a weird time because you always have to do Crown Jewel in between. It's that in between premium live event before Survivor Series and before whatever October is. Obviously, it was Fastlane this time around, and sometimes I wish we could have just not had Fastlane and just done Crown Jewel, but this is what they're gonna do. And Adam Pearce, now the GM of Raw, which is going to be weird to say, but now the GM of Raw is now booking some matches for Crown Jewel. The first one being Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Seth Rollins somehow surviving his time against Shinsuke Nakamura in a hell of a last man standing match at Fastlane. I do recommend everybody watch that. And Drew McIntyre is relevant again, even though he's kind of, you know, not over the whole thing, but his motivations are good. He was a champion when no one cared, or when everybody was in COVID and there was nobody for him to cheer his song or get any of that hype and stuff, and he never had that opportunity. And Seth, who always yearned for that opportunity, now has that opportunity. It's telling Drew to get over it. So it's very interesting. It's interesting to have Drew kind of be the heel here, which he's leaning towards heelish territory. And Seth is still like this forever over kind of jackass babyface. But I can see where Drew kind of might have a point. Like, you're kind of being a jackass, Seth. But we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about that more when it comes up in a couple of weeks. Also, Adam Pearce has booked a Fatal 5-Way, and I believe it's a Fatal 5-Way U.S. Champion, Fatal 5-Way elimination match for the Women's World Heavyweight Champion. And, you know, Rhea, Mommy, is putting her title up against Raquel Rodriguez, Zoe Stark, a very Ronda Rousey-looking Shayna Baszler in this photo, and my favorite Annihilator, Nia Jax. I love how they are really doing something with all of these women and giving them kind of a showcase. It's going to be a wild, topsy-turvy match. I can very easily see Nia winning. Because she's had some matches, but she needs a very dominant match, and Nia has made almost all of these women look small to what she's done. She has literally been the Annihilator ever since she's returned. It's going to be an interesting match for Zoe, very interesting match for Raquel. I'm excited for this, and like I said, we'll talk about this more when we get closer to it. And last, but certainly not least, speaking of going back to SmackDown, Logan Paul, who is a boxer, from time to time. Had a really interesting finish to his match this past weekend. But Logan Paul, right after his boxing match, literally in the middle of the ring, called out Rey Mysterio and said he's coming for the U.S. Championship because he's a U.S.-born person, so on and so forth. Rey Mysterio's like, you know where to find me. I'm going to be on SmackDown, homeboy. And it looks like that's what we're getting for Crown Jewel as well. We're potentially getting Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. Now, remember, Logan Paul was the main event of Crown Jewel against Roman Reigns. He did a really good job with that. I did not expect I did not expect Logan Paul to return so quickly. I thought it was going to take some more time off, but he is returning. It's also because it's Crown Jewel and there's a lot of money involved, so of course you're going to have Logan Paul. He is returning. He's going to face Rey Mysterio, another legend in wrestling. Whatever, say what you want. Is Logan Paul deuce? Probably. But the kid's big time. He's a great performer. He's got a natural talent. I would love for him to be more full-time, but I understand that it would hurt the rest of his other businesses if he was full-time WWE, but I'm okay with him being an attraction to go up against Rey Mysterio. He might win the title. He might go on a short run with the title, lose it at the Rumble. We'll see what happens with that. But I like Logan Paul versus Rey Mysterio. I mean, Logan Paul has proven himself to me in the ring, so I am fine with him doing this right now with Rey. I really am. Because Logan Paul, every time he gets in the ring, he gets better and better and better. Rey Mysterio is going to be a test for him, but we'll see. We'll definitely see how it goes. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have this week in the world of wrestling. It's like I said, it's I know how long I was going to go, but I tried to encompass all of the big stuff that has happened in the world of wrestling since the last time we were on the show. And I feel like I've covered it all. So thank you guys for sticking with me for this long, Smiley and Mr. Fretz. Knights beats Paul at Mania. Stop it. But thank you, Smiley and Fretz and everybody else who has stuck with me this long for this one-man band show, this one-man show this week. I do appreciate you guys. I appreciate anybody who is listening or is going to listen to this broadcast or to this episode when it gets released probably tomorrow. So yeah, with that being said, let's get this show. Let's get this show out of here. We're gonna go to the post show, right? Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do that, ladies and gentlemen. You have been listening to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 356, the one-man band. I have been the only person that you've listened to this entire show. You can call me King Rickie Rozay. You can find me, or formerly find me, at Ambassador Biggs across all social media outlets. You can follow me too. I'm going to return in a couple of months. Find Kings of the Rings podcast on KOTR_podcast across all social media outlets. Like, share, subscribe, comment, leave 5-star reviews. Make sure you're listening to us. If you are listening to us, listen to us by subscribing to Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure for the common wrestling podcast. Follow Wrestle Addict Radio socials at addict_wrestle on Twitter and Wrestle Addict Radio everywhere else. The links to all of our stuff, including some of our fantastic merch, is in the description below, wherever you are listening to us or wherever you are watching us. Again, I want to thank all of you guys for joining me this week. We will be back next week. Hopefully I'll have some co-hosts with me next week, but if not, it'll just be me again. And you know what? Sometimes that's perfectly fucking fine. So until next week, folks, goodbye, good night. We'll see you soon. And if you're not joining me for the post show, well, then you're just like Slack says. Fuck you, Slack. We'll see you next week. Perfect. Jimmy Uso, player hater of the year. Player hater of the year. So wow, I got that done in a little bit under like an hour time. Or something like that. So it should be a very, very interesting show when it gets together. If Sting is retiring, Frets, and sorry for the snipples, folks. it is fall season and everything like that. And, sometimes when you're speaking for a long time, I do kind of get the sniffles, and I don't have any tissues with me right now. But since we're not actually doing the show, and just kind of BSing, I will sniffle away. I did turn the dynamite before I started. So, but no, I have not seen Sting yet at all either. But if Sting is retiring, then it would make sense. But they would leave that to the end and give Sting all the time he needs for such a long career to encompass. I mean, Sting also falls into an edge problem in the sense that we saw Sting retire before, because he got into the Hall of Fame and then he announced his retirement the same night. He got into the Hall of Fame in WWE and announced he was going to retire. And then he came back for this run, however great it was, which was hit or miss. So, to me, I felt like Sting should have retired a long, long time ago. I'm probably going to watch. I'm going to be up for a while doing some editing and whatnot. So, we'll definitely see how this goes with all of that. That being said, what do we want to do on this post show right now? I can do Am I the Asshole and just give you my personal opinions about what I read. They are in Texas. Like I said, we can do an Am I the Asshole on our Tip of the Crown post show. Or we can do something else at the very moment in time, within reason, obviously. But you guys let me know what the fuck do we want to do here? Because I would love to do something with you guys. Just got to figure out what it is. So any suggestions, Smiley, Frets, you guys can let me know. What shall we get into? Or not a little bit of a post. I'll probably leave you guys by 9:30 if that. So we'll definitely see. But if you guys have any ideas, we'll see what goes from here. I'm just checking my fantasy football league right now, and other stuff that goes on when I'm not when I'm podcasting, and luckily no one called me this time around. But I always like to check to see what's going on in the world in the post show as well. Oh, no problem, Smiley. It was an absolute pleasure. It is something that I wanted to address as best as I could and as quickly as I could. Obviously, not without your blessing, which you gave me several weeks ago, and like I said, we would have done this sooner, but there were some things that we had some conflicts of scheduling. So, but I'm glad we were still able to do it today and spend as much time as we did on it, because I think it is a very important topic. And it's another way that we can, keep your brother, keep Junior's name alive. And if you do ever need, anything from me or anything to talk to, you know how to find me. You can reach me out on multiple avenues. I believe you also have my personal phone number, Smiley, so you can also reach me there as well. If you ever need to talk or cry or vent or anything like that, I am always around, at any given point. So, you just hit me up, you let me know, and I can be a resource, as best as I can for you, to the best of my ability. But at the least I can do is be someone who's there to listen, to you, no matter what it is. I can always be that ear to listen, and everything. So, with that being said, without any suggestions, I think we're going to pull out an Am I the Asshole? And Smiley, I don't know if you've been around with us during the post show, but we like to do, or Will and I started doing this, where we look at Reddit streams, and we play Am I the Asshole? We try to discuss based on, what people post, whether they're the asshole or not. And so I'm going to go through. We're going to do one because I have some editing to do, a lot more so than I usually would do on a night like tonight. But we have. I'm going to go through one. Am I the asshole? And we're going to see how this goes. And I'll just give you my opinions. You guys can comment on them in the stream as well. So let's see. I'm looking for a good one. I'm looking for something that's really going to, really intrigue me. Huh. Interesting. That's a good one. Let me see. I'm trying to find a juicy one. Let me see. That's a funny one. Oh. Ooh. Oh boy. This is a short one, yet sweet one. This is gonna be the one. Am I the asshole? I think I already know the answer to this, but we're gonna play this out. So the title of this was posted a day ago. The title of this one is "Am I the asshole for canceling my birthday party because my parents cut my sister a slice of my custom-made cake the night before my party when she cried for it?" So the person posts, "My sister, who's 11, is the miracle golden child. She always gets what she wants whenever she wants. My parents are always trying to please her and make her happy. We always make a big effort on her birthday and do whatever that she asks for, but they can barely remember mine, and they are always conveniently broke. This year, I wanted to enjoy my birthday, so I babysat and even mowed lawns to make this possible. My birthday was a few days ago, and the party was scheduled for the day after. I have been planning for weeks and invited all of my friends. I bought the food, snacks, and drinks. You did too much for your birthday, and picked up my custom-made cake, which I was really excited about. It was just perfect. The night before the party, I noticed that my cake, which was in the fridge, had a huge slice missing. When I asked my dad, he shrugged and nonchalantly said that my sister was crying for it, and it was just a small piece, and my friends would not notice. I feel like if there's a piece missing in a cake, I'm going to notice that there's a piece missing in a cake, no matter how small that slice is. You can't hide that there's a piece missing from a slice of a cake, especially if it's a custom-made cake. It's oh, wow, this is a great puzzle, but it's missing a couple pieces. Oh, how did you know? Because there's clearly a hole where a piece should be, and it's not there. Anywho, last paragraph goes, I yelled at him, asking him why he would do something like that when it wasn't even bought with his money and that my sister could have waited for tomorrow. This made him angry, and he went on a tirade about how I think I'm an adult because of my stupid party, implying at the fact that I did everything myself and did not ask them for anything. I ended up calling it off because I was not able to change the location last minute, as I didn't have the means to, and I was so hurt. I didn't want to host it at home anymore. One of my friends told me that calling it off was an overreaction and that I could have just grit my teeth and gone through with doing it at home rather than canceling just hours before. Oof. Okay, so that's the whole story we got. This screams toxic, ladies and gentlemen. So you have preferential treatment of one sibling over another, to the point where one sibling feels like one's the golden child and one's the black sheep, which is a dynamic that sometimes often occurs, no matter how good the family is. Or sometimes that's how it's perceived by the children in the family. So there could be a little dose of a sibling rivalry here. All of that aside, let's deal with the birthday person who we don't know the age or the gender of this person. It seems like they are older than the 11-year-old. Than the 11-year-old baby sister, whoever they are. You have someone who wanted to celebrate their birthday who seems like maybe still lives with the family. However, this person did all of the planning for their own birthday party, which again I feel like is sometimes too much. I feel like the black sheep sometimes too. I to be honest with you, I probably go back and forth between black sheep and golden child depending on the season. But you have somebody who planned this whole party by themselves, no help or input according to their perception from their own parents. Bought the food, bought the drinks, whether they were alcoholic or not, bought the cake that was custom made for their birthday. And I don't care how old or how much that someone desired a piece of that cake. It is not your cake. Sting addresses the fans like, yes, it is not your cake to eat if you did not buy it, if it was not for you, if it was not for your party. The only person to take a first cut, bite, slice of the cake for their birthday is the birthday person and not anybody else. The fact that the parents went behind their own child's back to appease a younger child is concerning. To disregard the wishes and the efforts of what I believe is the older child, and then to be so condescending when the older child has a valid frustration and not address their emotions as valid is also very concerning. And I have a lot of concerns for why does everything go back to The Simpsons for you, Frets? But to not address that sibling's emotions as valid and just to brush it off, and also be so condescending, like, oh, you think you're so grown that you did this by yourself, it's not all about you. Well, it is all about them. You know why? Because it's their fucking birthday. Okay? It is their birthday. It has to be all about them because it's their day. It's the day that they were born. It is their day of birth. It is their birthday. They need to have the attention on them, and they are just pushing this person kind of to the side and not really, I'm not going to say accurate, but not really abiding by their wishes. And like, I'm not one to be that much of a selfish person, probably to a fault, but the one day that I will not take shit from anybody and don't give a damn about what you want to do, and something that I had to learn as well, by the way, is on my birthday. That's my day, not yours. Okay? You're doing what I want. If you have a problem with it, don't fucking come. You know? So in my opinion, no, that person is not the asshole by rule of birthday. Like I said, I have concerns about that family dynamic. I have a lot of them. A lot of concerns about that family dynamic. Very concerned. About how that child's going to grow up. However old that child is. But it's also grounds for, you know, if somebody, regardless of if they're your family member or your best friend or significant other or something, if somebody is invalidating your feelings and making you feel lesser than, you are not in any way, shape, or form obligated to remain in that relationship, no matter the type of relationship, if it makes you feel bad. That's kind of the honest to God truth, you know. If you feel like you're not being heard, if you feel like your emotions aren't being validated, if you feel that you are not being recognized as a person or as an equal or anything of that magnitude, you don't have to stay into it. You don't have to suffer through that. Just because of your parents or anything like that, you don't have to suffer through that. You have to make sure that you are at all times and to the best of your ability in the best mental, emotional, and physical state possible. And sometimes that means you have to cut some people off. And that's just my 2 cents on it. But in this instance, yeah, definitely not the asshole, in my opinion. Definitely not the asshole. The special cake for them to ruin. I mean, even if I was that person, I would have maybe even picked up the cake the day of. I mean, probably lesson learned at this point. so that there isn't a chance for anybody to like go in and take a slice out of it. But that's such a dick move. That's such a dick move. But it's concerning. Very, very much concerning. And Sting is addressing the fans and everything right now. So we're going to get out of here. I'm going to let Sting address the crowd as much as he wants. And yeah, I'm going to start editing this show and all of that stuff and listening to the end of this. So thank you guys for joining us. Smiley and Frets, again, thank you for your time this evening. And I will see you guys next week. Later. Love you guys. See ya.
Midnight music.